Hello everyone, I am Icoso and I participated in the Brackeys Game Jam 2021.2. It's been a good while since I've actually made a game for a game jam, so I was super excited to take part in this one. It went for 7 days and the theme was Let There Be Chaos.
No!
Straight away I saw people on Discord getting kinda angry and not liking the theme too much, and I wasn't too hot on it myself, but I created my Unity project and got started on my game. As a game developer, I've learnt the harsh reality that one does not simply get a game idea straight away, and I'm actually pretty stupid myself, and it took me way too long to figure out a game idea. I thought to myself, what things in life are chaotic? Cooking stuff? Yeah, but there is no way that I'm remaking Overcooked in 1 week. Politics? Probably not a great topic for a video game. Bit iffy there. What about maths? Maths is very chaotic. But, you know, what about something like exponential growth? That's when my idea hit me. My idea was that you play as a character in a 2D top-down environment, moving around and shooting enemies. Whenever an enemy dies though, 2 more spawn, and you can see that very quickly the game will just fill up with enemies on the screen as you kill more of them. It's kind of like the Hydra in ancient Greek mythology, a monster where you cut off a head and 2 more sprout out from it. That's right, I read Percy Jackson, fight me, I dare you. So I got the player movement working pretty easily with a very familiar triangle character. It looked towards the mouse and moved with the keys, and yeah, pretty basic character. Nothing special, you suck triangle. Next I worked on the player being able to shoot bullets out of its face. And I ran into way many problems than I should have. Sometimes it shot too quickly, sometimes the bullets didn't move at all, and the issue of them just not disappearing was also a thing that happened. It was kind of satisfying but not ideal. Eventually though, I got the player shooting without any errors. I added some effects onto these bullets too, like, you know, trails and explosions with the help of Unity's particle system. But it was getting late and I was getting tired, so I went off to bed. Unfortunately, I had to participate in the horror that is school this week, and that meant not a lot of time for game dev. Today I added in some basic enemies which cannot move and are completely helpless, so I made them bounce around like a DVD screensaver, which wasn't the most complex movement system, but it worked really well. This idea came from one of Designnn Studio's projects. It's a great video and I highly recommend you go check it out. I also gave the player the ability to obliterate these circles into tiny bits by shooting them in the booty. Exactly what every good game needs. To finish off the night, I made the enemies respawn once they've been deaded, and you can see how quickly this game can become pretty chaotic with all of the enemies. I put a bit of thought into how I wanted these enemies to respawn, because I didn't want them to just appear right next to the player or on the player. So I made some invisible areas where enemies could spawn once the bullet has hit them, and it would be at the opposite quadrant of what the player is in. Again, this isn't the most elaborate way of going around things, but it worked well enough. So far the game was coming along pretty well. The mechanics were all working great, but the game design was where it lacked in. For example, you could just sit in the corner and endlessly shoot at the enemies, which firstly isn't that fun, but it's also quite a big issue for the game. To fix this, I gave the player only 10 bullets to shoot, with indicators at the top of the screen. You can probably see the problem with this though, and that's that the player needs a way to regain their bullets. And that's what this spinning white square is for. When it's picked up by the player, the ammo is refilled to 10 units and it relocates itself somewhere random across the map. This keeps the player on their toes and forces them to move around. I finished off the day by just adding this basic score system in the background that would just count up 1 point every time you killed an enemy. Today I undertook a massive graphical improvement to the project. Using post-processing effects and screen shake for impact, the game went from looking like this heap of garbage to this. Don't be too impressed though, because this is actually all I did for this day, so yeah, not much other than this was done, but I thought I was still making some pretty great progress. With some fancy new graphics, I decided to next work on the menu screens and a bit of UI for the game. I think it's always important to be quite clear on your menus, and that's what I tried to do here. And I also named the game Pew Pew Shapes because you're a shape and you go pew pew. Honestly, a lot of my games could be called this. Today was again pretty uneventful, so yeah, that's all about I did for Tuesday. No, Thursday. It's Thursday, shut up. With the time picking up, I next moved on to making some music and audio for the game. So here's a very special segment of the devlog, which I will call Music Time with Icoso. We're gonna learn about music and sound effects and stuff. Yay! If you find this really boring, and I do not blame you, you can skip to this time here. If you're staying, I'll do my best to be quick. Jumping right into FL Studio, I began with a simple bass line. I wanted to keep it quite upbeat and fast with a hint of that retro style music mixed into it. After this, I added some groovy drums into the mix to add some more structure to the beat. Next were some chords, which weren't quite chords but more of just a progression with pads and synths just to lay down a foundation for the melody to come. Like I said, I now wrote out a melody with some piano sounds, and here I could start to feel the track coming together. Finally, I just put everything together in a big composition. It honestly wasn't anything fancy, but it got the job done. If you want to listen to the full song, it'll be over on my second channel, Icoso, soon, if not already. That was just part one of the magical roller coaster that is game audio. The second part is sound effects, and usually I just make them in some sort of digital tool or music software, but I tried something different this time around, so here we go. For the shooting sound, I recorded myself making a pop sound with my mouth. And I just have to point out how ridiculously funny this sounds on its own. Quality humour. I also created an enemy death by punching my hand. And then in FL Studio, I also made this quick select sound. I have not evolved enough to sound like a piano with my mouth. So now with all of this audio in the game, here is what the game sounded like. In my opinion, it's a lot juicier and gives a whole new aspect to the game that it really needed. Didn't do too much else today, but I was really glad to get all of the audio and music just out of the way. At this stage, the core mechanics of the game were pretty much finished. I had a menu, restart screen, gameplay, and a working game loop. I still had quite a lot of time though before the jam ended, so I did my best to add some more juice into the project. I tried to utilise these big rings in the centre of the screen, so the game went from looking like this to this. They now bounce out and change colour, and it looks very swag if I do say so myself. Unfortunately, I had to do homework the rest of the day like some sort of nerd face. I wasn't too worried about the game though, because like I said, it was pretty much finished. Today I just set up the game over on itch.io and slowly waited for the game to build. I made some cover art over on Photoshop and submitted my project. I got it in like 10 hours before the jam ended, and so 'twas not a stressful day for I. If you want to give it a play yourself, there is a link in the description, and I'd love to know what you think of it. Thank you so much for watching the video everyone. Make sure to like and subscribe and join the Discord and all that cool stuff. Thanks heaps to my incredible Patreon supporters DerpyDino35, IcaroSwiftDev, and Luat Games. You guys are awesome, and I will see you all in the next video.